shorts with nail heads around the edge as well as shoelaces. In Mexico, Peru, and Germany, gold and silver footwear with soft gold soles or rubber soles, gold embellished. In Egypt and Borneo, finely woven textiles of extraordinary strength and delicacy, such as could only be produced in highly specialized factories today. In Peru and Mexico, cotton grown in various colors, from brown to blue, a technique which modern science has been unable to reproduce so far. In Peru, advanced dyeing techniques, fabrics covered with a mosaic of feathers in no less than 190 shades of color. Peru, magnificent textiles with veils, brocades, and gobelins for finer or far finer than is possible on any modern loom today. Russia, 3000 BC, spindle whorls and patterned fabric designs. Peru, exquisitely patterned lace. Peru, clothing sewn artistically in multicolored designs with gold and silver thread. China, jade clothes composed of hundreds of pieces of tightly fitted jade particles sewn with golden thread. Mexico, waterproof clothing. China, modern jackets and long trousers depicted in underground tunnel paintings. South Africa, short-sleeved pullovers, closely fitting breeches, gloves, garters, and slippers, and multicolored shirts. Russia, fur trousers, embroidered shirts, jackets with ivory badges and clasps. In Russia, two-piece suits styled very much as in the present day. In Crete, Asia Minor, and Egypt, all dated to 3000 BC, fashions were launched by the elegant women of Crete and imitated by other countries, such as very long skirts with flounces, full skirts with flounces, bodices, whatever a B-O-D-I-C-E-S is, decorated with medici-like collars. That's a M-E-D-I-C-I hyphen L-I-K-E collars. I imagine this is some kind of a clothing item that you ladies might recognize. Deeply cut in front, leaving the breasts visible. Hats of extravagance and variety. In France, pantsuits, short-sleeved jackets, decorated hats, small boots, and modern-looking purses. In Sicily, bikinis, modeled by skinny young girls posing in a mode similar to that of today. In Sumeria, 2900 BC, an amazingly modern wig. In Thera Sumeria, T-H-E-R-A, Sumeria, eyelid paint and eye makeup. In Egypt, a woman preserved in a tomb was wearing 5 shades of lipstick. Her hair had been in rollers, and the curls were still in after 3,000 years. In Bulgaria, large earrings, necklaces, and cosmetics and expensive jewelry used with sophistication. In Mohenjo-Daro, Pakistan, 3000 BC, jewels, rings, bracelets, and necklaces of gold, silver, and ivory, kept in elegant silver caskets, and so well finished and so highly polished that it might have come out of a Bond Street jeweler's today. So much for a sampling of ancient fashions. Among the general populace, we see astonishing variety and opulence in clothing, also elegance in which good taste and coordination among clothes, hairdos, headwear, and jewelry prevailed. Beauty, sophistication matching our own, herbal drops were used to enlarge the pupils of the eyes, green eyeshadow, black eyeliner, face powder, and rouge were all used in great quantities, as was a bleaching paste for freckles. And from the earliest times, nails held a fascination. Manicuring implements were used, including a cuticle pusher, rather like an orange wood stick of today. Women colored their fingernails and toenails bright red. In taste, people were basically the same as today. And now there is, and you get this one, mechanical devices, everyday items, and clothing. And this has all been dug up. There are 969 records of these kinds of items. Some of these are on display in some museums, some of them are not. The author reports that most of this material is in packing crates in warehouses that museums all across the world refuse to put out on display because they refute or seriously put in danger the theory of evolution, which is our modern fairy tale that tells us long, long ago and far, far away. All right, we are reviewing the book Dead Men's Secrets. I rate this about a 1 in 100 book. I'm an old man. I have never seen another book like it. I have read about some of these stories. I have seen pictures of the light bulbs that are depicted on the hieroglyphic murals in the tombs of Egypt. I have seen pictures of the Nazca animals. I have heard of and seen pictures of these huge buildings, these huge building blocks and rocks in Peru and Ecuador. Just little pieces here and there, that I've read in Discover Magazine or Reader's Digest or some TV special or something like that. You probably have also. This author, Jonathan Gray, has put together a record of 969 records. The book is about 350 pages, paperback, published in 2004. It's called Dead Men's Secrets, Jonathan Gray. If only 10% of them are true, accurate, and correct, it's a blockbuster. I'm telling you, boys and girls, that if 10%, which would be about 100, 96.9, and all the rest of them were lies, you'd still be faced with an insurmountable problem concerning evolution. Where in the hell does this technology come from? We can't duplicate it today. Now, boys and girls, when there's something that I cannot do, it doesn't mean jack diddly squat. I remember years ago I was flying up to, or back from, Alaska. And I stopped for fuel at SeaTac Airport there in Seattle, Tacoma, they call it. SeaTac. It was in the late 60s or early 70s. My guess would be it was probably about 1972. Because I flew up to Alaska on that trip in a Cherokee 6. And there was a 747 coming in for a landing, and I had never seen one before. I'd heard of them. I'd seen pictures of them, but I'd never seen a real 747. And I was sitting on the tarmac out at the end of the runway, running up the engines and doing my checkouts, and I looked up from the instrument panel, and I watched this humongous thingy suspended in the sky. It was moving very slowly. It was coming in for a landing. I stopped what I was doing because I couldn't believe what I was seeing with my own eyeballs. And I watched in absolute fascination. Boys and girls, I've been a pilot for years. I watched that 747 come in and land, and I said, my God, how can that thing fly? How can that thing fly that slow? The faster you run something through the air, the better it'll fly. I was absolutely amazed. And we're in modern times. Now, I showed you here that we have pictures and drawings. We have actual artifacts of jet engines from ancient times. I'm not surprised after having seen this book, after having seen the pictures that are contained in the books, or in the pages of this book, that this kind of technology was possible. Put it to the test. Let's think about it for a minute. 500 years ago, we were pretty primitive people. You go back to the Middle Ages and Columbus discovering America. These people don't have electric lights. They don't have batteries. They don't have rubber. They don't have plastic. Now, we go out here and we take a look around us today. We have plastic, we have rubber, we have metallurgy. And, we accept it. You couldn't have a 747 without metallurgy. You've got to be able to combine various metals together in order to build an airplane like that. And yet we have those kinds of metallurgical samples today that came from ancient times. In the Bible, in Genesis 4, it says they were artificers in brass and iron. That's an indication of metallurgy. Now we come to anthropology. They run around and they're digging up these artifacts. An aluminum cup. Do you remember that statement? There was an aluminum cup. My God, boys and girls, aluminum wasn't discovered until the 20th century. We knew that there was a mineral called aluminum. But this aluminum, to make aluminum metal, that's only been discovered in the last 100 years. For somebody to have an aluminum cup that goes back into ancient times is like digging up a computer, for crying out loud, with microwave software or Microsoft software. That's unheard of. Now, there are sophisticated mechanical devices here that I told you about today. Let's take a look at another one. Flight. Airplanes. Flight. Now, when you take a look at flight, the first guy that got up off the ground was a Frenchman who, I need to turn to page 277 here. That's what I'm kind of stalling around for. A Frenchman discovers a hot air balloon back around 1700, in round numbers. Then from that first primitive flight in 1700, let's just come up 200 years, 1900. Let's go back before the flood. People are living 300, 400, 500, 600, 700 years. We discover a hot air balloon. Do you think that those people living those lengths of lifespans over there could have come up with an airplane? If today, in modern times, and just going back 300, 400 years, modern times, 1700 to 1800 to 1900 to 2000, 17, 18, 19, 20, 300 years.